Alex, people think the magic of a good weld is all in the wrist, that steady hand and the right arc. But honestly, if you haven't built yourself a decent cage to keep that metal from dancing while it gets hot, you're just chasing your tail.
A cage? That's what we're calling jigs now? Sounds like you're trying to wrestle a bear instead of just joining two pieces of angle iron.
Sometimes it feels the same. Metal's alive, it breathes. You hit it with several thousand degrees of heat, and it wants to curl up like a dried leaf. I remember building a set of gate hinges once, thought I could just eyeball the alignment with a couple of magnetic squares. By the time I finished the second pass, that gate was about as straight as a mountain road. I had to cut the whole thing apart with a grinder, which is basically the blacksmith's way of admitting defeat.
See, that's the Tiger special. Why use a precision tool when you can use hope and a prayer, right? But seriously, for the folks listening who might be getting their wires crossed, what is the actual distinction here? I hear jig and fixture used like they're the same thing, but they aren't, are they?
They're cousins, but they have different jobs. A jig is like a tour guide. It actually tells the tool where to go. If you've got a plate with holes in it, that guides your drill bit so every hole is in the exact same spot on 100 different parts, that's a jig. A fixture, on the other hand, is more like a stubborn bouncer. Its only job is to hold the workpiece in one specific place and not let it budge while you do the work. In welding, we're mostly talking fixtures. We need that bracket to stay at exactly 90 degrees, even when the heat starts trying to warp it into an octagon.
Okay, so fixtures are the unsung heroes keeping our projects from becoming modern art. But if I'm starting a project, say, those brackets you mentioned, where does the design process actually begin? Do you just start tacking scraps to your table?
That's the scenic route to a bad back and a lot of wasted steel. If you want to do it right, you start with the part itself. I usually lay the finished part, or a model of it, down and think, what are the 3 spots that define where this lives in space? It's the 3-2-1 rule. You need 3 points to define a plane, 2 to set a line, and 1 to stop it from sliding.
I saw a post on the Practical Machinist forum where a guy suggested building the fixture around the part in CAD. Is that how you're doing it these days, or are you still sketching on napkins?
Hey, some of my best work started on a greasy napkin. But no, the pros, and even the smart hobbyists now, use what we call top-down design. You take your finished bracket in SolidWorks or whatever software you're using, and you literally build the supports right against the digital skin of that part. That way, you know your clearances are perfect before you ever strike an arc.
But what about the heat, Tiger? You can't just box a part in. Don't you need room to actually, weld?
Spoken like someone who's tried to squeeze a MIG gun into a space the size of a matchbox. That's mistake number 1. You build this beautiful, rigid fixture that holds the part to within 1,000th of an inch, and then you realize you've blocked every single joint you need to reach. You have to design windows. A good fixture is a balance between being a fortress and being a skeleton. You want just enough metal to hold the shape, but enough empty space so you aren't performing surgery with a welding torch through a peephole.
So let's talk materials. If I'm building a fixture to hold steel, am I building it out of steel? Or is that asking for trouble when the spatter starts flying?
Steel is the standard because it's cheap and it doesn't move much when it gets warm, but spatter's a real literal pain in the neck. If you're MIG welding, you'll end up welding your part to your fixture if you aren't careful. I've started using a lot of aluminum for locators where I can, or even copper spacers. Weld spatter won't stick to copper. It just bounces off like water on a duck's back.
Interesting. I actually saw something the other day from the Formlabs team. They're even 3D printing jigs now, using high-temp resins for assembly fixtures. Seems a bit Star Trek for a guy who likes his anvils, doesn't it?
I might be an old dog, but I like new tricks. 3D printing is fantastic for those weird organic shapes, like a manifold or a curved exhaust pipe, where a flat piece of steel just won't sit right. You print a cradle that fits the curve of the pipe perfectly. You aren't welding on the plastic, obviously, but it's great for the setup phase before you move to the heavy-duty stuff.
Okay, but even with a perfect fixture, there's a ghost in the machine. Thermal expansion. You can clamp a part down until the bolts scream, but it's still going to move. How do you fight physics?
You don't fight it, you negotiate with it. Every weld is a tiny muscle that pulls as it cools. If you weld the whole left side of a frame, that frame is going to bow left. I've learned, and this cost me a very expensive custom motorcycle frame back in the 90s, to weld in a sequence that balances the pull. You do a little on the top, then a little on the bottom. It's like tightening the lug nuts on a tire. You move in a cross pattern, and sometimes you actually pre-bend the part. You fix it in the jig slightly out of alignment so that when the weld cools, it pulls the part right into the perfect position.
Wait, so you're telling me you intentionally build things crooked just so they end up straight? That sounds like a great excuse for any mistake. No, Alex, I meant for it to look like a banana.
It sounds crazy until you see it work. It's like aiming upwind when you're shooting an arrow. You have to know how hard the wind is blowing.
Let's get practical for a second. For someone with a small shop, maybe just a basic welding table, what are the must-haves for building better fixtures?
Invest in a handful of good toggle clamps, those red-handled guys. They're worth their weight in gold because they apply consistent pressure every single time. And squares, not just your little combination square, but heavy cast iron welding squares. You can bolt them to your table and they give you a rock-solid vertical surface. Also, stop using your hands as a clamp. I've got a scar on my left thumb that looks like a topographical map because I thought I could hold a tab in place while I tacked it.
I knew we'd get to a Tiger's emergency room story.
Hey, that's just how the knowledge gets in there sometimes. But really, the biggest tip I can give is to make your fixtures modular. Don't weld your fixture to your table unless you want to spend the next hour grinding it off. Drill and tap your table, or get a proper fixture table with the holes already in it so you can bolt down your stops and move them around for the next job.
Basically, treat your welding table like a giant Lego set.
Exactly. The more you can reuse the same blocks to build different houses, the faster you get. And speed is the difference between a hobby that costs money and a craft that pays for itself.
So, the big takeaway here? A fixture isn't just about holding something still. It's about repeatability and respecting how the metal behaves when the heat is on.
Well put. It's about taking the guesswork out of the equation. When you stop worrying about, is this square? Because you know the fixture is doing the work, your welds actually get better. You're free to focus on the puddle instead of the geometry.
And maybe, just maybe, not needing the angle grinder to fix a banana gate later.
Amen to that. Building the fixture might take twice as long as the actual welding, but it's the quietest way to make sure you only have to do the job once.
Thanks for the deep dive, Tiger. Next time, I want to hear more about that 3D printed Star Trek shop you're secretly building.
As long as it doesn't involve me wearing spandex, Alex, I'm in. Thanks for keeping me honest.